You know, Wizards of the Coast owns D&D Beyond. And one thing they were able to do is data mine D&D Beyond. And they figured out what the most popular character is in all of D&D, what race they are, what class they are, and what their name is, even what the age is. Can you guess let's try the class. Can you guess what the class is?
The last time D&D Beyond did this, which I think was like over a year, maybe around a year ago, I think it was Fighter followed by Rogue for class.
I only have the
maybe
top.
it completely changed since then, because they did this last year.
I'll go in a radical direction and say a paladin.
It's fighter, then rogue, then barbarian, then wizard, then paladin, then warlock, cleric, ranger, bard, druid, sorcerer, monk, and artificer. Way on the bottom. Now for species,
Artificer was on the bottom last year too.
Yeah. For species, what do you think species is?
For species, I do not remember from last year, but I think it was like humans and elves. Elves were very, very popular.
Well, you might just go with the half elf.
Human,
do that.
elf.
Get a bow.
Human's most popular, then elf, then dragonborn, then tiefling.
This is very similar to last
then
year's
half
results.
elf, then dwarf, then halfling, half orc, Gansey, gnome, Goliath, Amisar, Ararorak, whatever that is, and then lineages and things that are custom. So yeah, they're using the same data, so it's probably not going to change too much. But what is the most popular name? Oh, how about that?
I don't think that the name was actually in the thing that I read.
That's right. What is the most popular name, do you think, that is used more than anyone else?
Well, if we're talking fighters, I would take a guess. Conan.
What about like one of the stereotypical names people always do their character, where they're like, my character is Bob the Sixth.
I was gonna say it's Bob.
Right? So it could be Bob, because I've seen people make 6 Bobs and then just the character is Bob again.
The most popular name is Bob. That is correct.
Bob?
Yes.
It really is?
Yes.
Like Bob the guard from
Bob the human fighter is
Bob
the most popular character in D&D.
That's such like an online meme stereotype about someone who just names their human fighter Bob, and then when Bob dies, they're like, this is Bob the Second. So it's hilarious that is actually truth in like the meme. Like, it's actually true.
There you go.
Now, if it had been a rogue, then the most popular name would have been Phineas Fingers.
There you go.
They have, let's see. They do have the average age of the characters.
Chat also looks like a lot of people are guessing Bob.
I know. Bob the human fighter. And the average age. What do you think the average age of a character is? That's actually a pretty interesting one.
That's a really interesting one.
It
is
is
it the mean, the median, or the mode?
The mean.
When they say the average age?
Mean, I believe.
Okay, it's the average mean, which means so the problem with that is all those elves that are like 100 and whatever are going to get averaged into the age. And it's also going to be averaged in with the teenage anime protagonists who, despite being the age of 16, are stronger than everyone else in the world.
Right, so those might cancel each other out.
Okay.
And Elf is the second most popular character.
An elf is the second most popular. And it's not like dwarves don't live for a long time, too. And Dragonborn, I think, live for a pretty decent amount.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to guess like 50.
What do you think, Jeff?
I'll just say 20.
28.
Then it's the median.
I'm closer.
If it was 28, there is no way that is the mode. I said not the mean. There's no way that is the mean. The average that you told me is not the average.
Keep in mind, I don't think people really put down the age for their characters as elves as like 200. I
was going to say the same thing. I would think that a lot of times players would go with, he's a really young of whatever species it happens to be.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't matter. You're still not going to get to 28 unless it's the median. If it's the median, Absolutely. But even if you have, because of the number of people who play elves is the second most, even if only like a third of those people actually use the ages that are listed in their book that says you're going to be over 100 before you're an adventuring elf, that's still going to pull up the mean by a significant amount.
They wrote about this.
What?
They wrote about this.
Oh, really?
Well, this makes sense in the all-popular human adventurer. What people aren't talking about are all the juvenile dwarves and elves running around on adventures. Oh. According to the player's handbook, dwarves reach adulthood at 50 and elves at 100. So if you have a 28-year-old elf in your party, you should make sure whoever they're imbibing at their tavern, whatever they're imbibing at the tavern is non-alcoholic. They didn't say if it's the mean or the mode, but I have a feeling 28 is 28.
I think it's the median. Okay. But I think you're both right. And Jeff called it before without reading the article. You're both right that people are putting in some of their dwarves and elves as too young.
Yeah.
But I think that wouldn't be sufficient to drag the mean down, since all of those very high, it only takes like one that's very high to drag the average up by a significant amount in a batch of elves.
What is the average character level of all characters created?
Like their current level, because when they're updated in D&D Beyond, it goes up.
If you take every single character in D&D Beyond currently,
and is this the mean or the median? Because the median might be 1 for all the created characters that were created at level 1 that were never played.
No.
Right. Well, the mean can't possibly be 1, because when you add in the other numbers, it will have to go up.
It's everything. They just say average. I don't know. You figure it out. It just says average current level. Of all characters created in D&D Beyond. They took a snapshot as of like either December 31st or January 1st.
Oh, it's all changed then.
It's all changed. It's all changed.
Leveled up since then.
Well, I'm talking about as of right then, the snapshot.
I'm going to say 3.
Well, you can go to 3. You can go to 2 decimal places. It's not just 3 points. Okay. What?
I'm going to say 2.86.
Wow. I'll say 4.
4.00?
Yeah.
The answer is 4.77.
Oh man, Jeff, you've got this.
It's because I'm so tight with Wizards of the Coast now. That's why.
Okay, the fact that it is 4.77 heavily implies that it's the mean, because it's difficult to get a number that with those decimal points on the median because of the way that medians are calculated. There you go. There's more high. I thought that there were going to be enough level 1s that were just never played, and since most people play from level 1 to 5 anyway, that it might heavily skew the result. But it looks like they're just like I'm saying for the elf and dwarf ages, it shouldn't be 28 on a mean, because the high ones should bring it up. Looks like those high level characters pulled it up to 4.77.
Let's see. How many? Well, this is more like monsters and player characters. I won't do that one. But how about this? What is the most popular? They actually have 2 terms. And I'll give you a hint. They both start with the same letter. What is the 2 most popular words searched for?
Dungeons and Dragons?
Is that your question?
So are we talking about searched for on D&D Beyond?
Yes,
or just
D&D Beyond. They do start with the same letter, so I'll give you a little hint.
I got to be honest. Do not have a clue.
Okay. Is that your official Is that your official one, Mark? Dungeons and Dragons. What are you looking up, Mark?
I'm just guessing Dungeons and Dragons.
You're halfway there. It's dragon and druid.
Druid, I never would have picked that, but my love for dragons wins out, and I get at least one of them, right?
So maybe
that's the title of my new role-playing game, by the way, Dragons and Druids.
I was just about to say, like, who knew? Maybe you should just call it Dragons and Druids instead of Dungeons and Dragons. Dragons and Druids. Who knew?
Yeah, because dungeons really don't make that many appearances in a lot of people's games anymore.
No, not really.
The dungeon delve is sort of dead with some folks.
In fact, they wrote about this. They said, nobody tell dungeon, it might hurt their feelings, according to this article.
There you go.
See, D&D, wizards can be funny sometimes. They can actually do a good job. In fact, the number one article was Druid 101 Wild Shape Guide.
Oh, because people needed a guide to figuring out their wild shapes. That's why. That explains it.
And the number two article was How to Create Your First Dungeons and Dragons character with D&D Beyond. And then the fifth one was Embracing Her Wild Side, playing as a lycanthrope in D&D.
Oh, well.
There's a lot of people. So the number one is Wild Shape, and number 5 is lycanthrope. I think I'm starting to see into people's psyches a little. They really want to, and then there are also a lot of people want to know how to turn into werewolves. They're saying, and I think people, I think they're one step away from furries here, but. Anyhow.
Wait, one step away? How do you know that they are any steps away?
Well, it looks like people
there
are
a decent number of players who are furries.
That's true. Right? Maybe they're 0 steps away. Who knows? My point is, it looks like a lot of people are very interested in changing. I hate to say it though. I actually, my favorite is a druid that changed shape. So anyhow, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I thought that was pretty interesting. So Bob, the 28-year-old human fighter.
There you go.
Is the most popular.
That's my next character.
Yeah, that's the most popular.
I'm going to start him off at level 4.7, whatever.
Although it sounds like that 28, the 28 is the average of like dwarves and elves and really young characters. So there probably aren't that many characters who are actually 28. So while Bob the Human Fighter probably is an actual common thing that's on there, probably almost none of them are 28. That's going to be my guess.
Yeah, now this is only from D&D Beyond.
It's like a bimodal distribution.
Yeah, this is only from D&D Beyond. But where else are you going to get it? I mean, you know, it's not like there's other places that really have this data.